Hello everybody. Today I'll be going over one of the most popular topics on the internet. What if I made Ash's Pokemon teams? I always wanted to do something like this and finally decided to do so. Before I start, I just wanted to go over one rule. I can only keep one Pokemon besides Pikachu from each team. This rule is to make the teams more interesting than just keep the cool Pokemon and get rid of the crappy ones. However, there is one stipulation to the rule. If I evolve a Pokemon, it counts as a new one, so I couldn't use Charizard and Squirtle, but I could use Charizard and Wartortle. Now with that intro stuff out of the way, let's hop into the first team. The first Pokemon for Ash's Kanto team will be Beedrill. I think Beedrill fits Ash a lot better than Butterfree, and I think it would be cool to see him actually keep him around. In my story, Beedrill would love battling him, dreaming of becoming the strongest bug in the world, similar to Ash's dream of being the strongest trainer. For Ash's second Pokemon, I have his regional flyer in Farfetch'd. Similar to Beedrill, I feel like Farfetch'd is a cooler and better fit as the flyer on Ash's team than Pidgeot. Farfetch'd's personality would be like an honorable samurai. I think it would be cool if he used his stick as a sword. He and Ash could do a cool training arc mastering sword battle. The third one I would choose for Ash's team is his returning team member, Charizard. There's not much to say here. Charizard is one of Ash's strongest and most iconic Pokemon, so I don't really think anyone could replace him. Now for his fourth Pokemon, I'm going to go with Ivysaur. I really like Ash's Bulbasaur, but I really feel like it should have evolved. So in my version, it did. His personality would be much the same. For Ash's last Kanto team member, I have Poliwhirl. Can't believe Ash never got a Poliwhirl. It feels like the perfect Ashmon. He would be a goofball that never really knows what he's doing. When he locks into battle, he's one of Ash's strongest. I feel like this Pokemon would perfectly round out this team. Next up, I have Ash's Johto team. This team was one of my least favorites originally, so I had a lot of fun remaking it. For Ash's first captain, Johto, it would still be Bayleaf. I really liked Bayleaf's personality in the original anime, and I wouldn't want to change that. Now into the new ones. For Ash's second Pokemon in Johto, it would be Quagsire. I feel like Quagsire is the perfect early Ash Ketchum Pokemon. I imagine him being a goofball who loves shooting mud at people, not realizing people don't like the joke. For his third Pokemon, I would choose Espeon. This is a Pokemon Ash should have had. It would have been a perfect mon to be his first Psychic type in order to contrast with Reds. I imagine Espeon being rivals with Ash's Bayleaf, with them both competing for Ash's attention, which would aggravate him from time to time. In this universe, I think Espeon would be Ash's Johto ace. The next Pokemon I decided on is Magcargo. I know Magcargo doesn't seem like an Ash Pokemon. I need to put a fire type on his team. I feel like Magcargo fits best. I see him being a slow and lazy Pokemon that Ash has to beg to battle. When it does, it's one of Ash's strongest. But I also see him loving food. For Ash's final Johto Pokemon, I decided on Skarmory. Ash needed a flying type, and I like Skarmory. It works well, and it also gives the steel type some representation. I see Skarmory being a fierce battler that hates to lose and would strive to be a master of aerial battling. The next team up is Ash's Hoenn team. Despite loving Ash's Hoenn team, I made a lot of changes. First up was the Pokemon I decided to keep. That Pokemon being Swellow. I love Swellow, and I think it was one of Ash's best birds, so she's going to stay. Now the first new Pokemon will be Nuzleaf. I imagine Ash catching a tiny Seedot instead of Trico in this universe. As a Seedot, it would be the goofy comic relief mom, but after evolving, I think it would change into a more focused battler, like a martial artist. For Ash's third one, I'd give him Swampert. I think Swampert would be the comic relief Pokemon. As a Mudkip, he would be caught on Dewford Island and would love playing and wouldn't really care for battling. And after evolving, I think he would become one of Ash's strongest, but would kind of be like a man in a child's body situation, where he doesn't realize he isn't a small Mudkip anymore. Now for Ash's next Pokemon, I'd give him Sableye. I think Sableye fits Ash's battle style. I think its defining trait would be that he constantly steals. I even think that's how Ash would meet him. After he steals his Pokedex, he would battle Sableye for his Pokedex back, then after seeing his strength, he would decide to catch it. For Ash's final Pokemon, an ace, I gave him Blaziken. Now, in this universe, I see the Torchic that Professor Birch is giving out would have bad behavior issues, leading to all the trainers returning it. I see Birch then offering the Torchic to Ash to see if he can help with its issues. At first, Torchic would hate to listen, but after bonding with Ash and his team, I would see it becoming more trustworthy and then evolving into Ash's strongest Pokemon. The next team up is Ash's Sinnoh team. Ash's Sinnoh team is one of his best, and will be really hard to make better with the restrictions, but I'll try my best. First, let's get out of the way Ash's returning Pokemon, Infernape. Infernape is probably the best written Pokemon in the anime, so it's an easy choice to keep. For Ash's second Cinnamon, I gave him Drifblim. Of the remaining flying types, I feel like this one fits Ash the best. I see Drifblim being like a mom of the team, always ensuring everyone else is okay. When she's not busy checking everyone else, she'll be a powerful battler. For Ash's next Cinnamon, I have Hippowdon. In the original anime, there was an episode where Ash could have caught a Hippopotas, so in my version he does, and it's his Bulkymon for the region. I see him being kind of lazy and always digging in the dirt. I think it would be cool for Ash to train with Hippowdon to help him turn his love of digging into a part of his battle style. Next up for Ash, I have Empoleon. I think Ash catching an Empoleon will be really interesting since Dawn is a Piplup as well. In my version, Ash will meet Piplup before the first gym, and Ash and Dawn's Piplups will be best friends. I think it would be very interesting to see them copy each other's tactics, despite one fighting in contest and the other in gym battles. For Ash's last Cinnamon, I have Abomasnow. I think when Ash is a fire, water, grass core, of the remaining grass types, I think Abomasnow fits the best. I see him being caught right around the 6th gym and being pretty weak, but then right before the 7th gym, he would evolve and become a powerhouse. Plus, I think the combo of ice and grass is pretty cool. Now for Ash's Unova team. I'm sticking to a team of 6, since in the original anime his team was overpopulated and had terrible development. Now for Ash's first one, I have Duat. Now, I really like Oshawott, but I feel like he could have been way better if he evolved into Duat, so here he did. The next Pokemon I have for Ash's team is returning Pokemon, Levani. I think Levani's design is really cool, and I just know that it could be a strong battler. Her personality wouldn't change much from the original anime. For Ash's next mom, I'd give him Archeops. I think the idea of Ash having to train with Archeops and use him strategically to do his Defeatus ability would be really interesting. I see him being similar to Gliscor, where he is terrible before evolving, but as he evolves and trains, he would become really strong. Next up for the Unova team would be Beartic. I feel like Ash would catch Beartic fully evolved and would struggle with him at first, Beartic being stubborn and feeling like he's better than Ash. However, after seeing how Ash cares for his Pokemon and how strong he is, he would warm up to him and become a great battler. Last up for Ash's Unova team would be the ace, Darmanitan. Darmanitan is the perfect Pokemon for Ash, and would fit perfectly as the ace. I see Ash catching a Darmok right before Berg's gym, and he would carry the team from there. After evolving, I can see Ash having to work with him to master his Zenmon ability, the perfect start for an ace Pokemon. Next up, we have Ash's Kalos team. Ash's Kalos team is one of his best, but I feel like this team is close to being just as good. For the first Pokemon, I kept Greninja, obviously. As Greninja is still one of the coolest Pokemon ever, so I'm definitely not replacing him. For the first new Pokemon, I have Pyroar. I see Pyroar being caught before the first gym and being a force to be reckoned with. For Ash's third Kalos I have Aegislash. I think Aegislash's concept and design are both excellent. I would love to see Ash have to adapt to the form switching ability, which could lead to some interesting strategies. The next capture I see Ash making is Slurpuff. I was torn between Meowstic and Slurpuff for the last spot, but I decided on Slurpuff for two reasons. The first is because I think it would be cool to represent the new fairy type, and the second reason is because the team needed a comic relief Pokemon, and Slurpuff works a lot better than Meowstic. For the last party member, I decided on Trevenant. I think Trevenant is a really cool Pokemon that would be sick in Ash's team. Plus, the combo of Ghost and Grass is really cool in my opinion. Ash's Alola team was his first ever championship team, so it's one of his best, so hopefully my changes aren't hated. The first Pokemon I see Ash catching after arriving in Alola is Palossand. I think Palossand could be really cool using the abundance of sand in Alola to grow ginormous for certain battles. I see him as the lazy member of Ash's team, however, liking to play more than battle. The second Pokemon is also the returning Pokemon in Ace, Incineroar. I really like Incineroar's story, and I feel like he works perfectly as the ace for the region. The only thing I would change about him is that I would have him battle more. The next Pokemon I see Ash catching is Golisopod. I see Golisopod being very weak as a Wimpod and getting injured constantly in battle, hence its emergency exit ability. However, I see him evolving and growing more confident, using his ability less and less. Also, I think it would be sick for a Golisopod vs. Golisopod battle in the Alola League. The next pick is probably my favorite, and that is Alolan Sandslash. Regional forms were the new thing introduced in Alola, and I think Sandslash fits Ash the best. I think he would love cutting things as a Sandshrew, so Ash would train with him to help him master Slash, and eventually he would evolve becoming a powerhouse. The last Pokemon I see Ash catching in Alola is Kammo-o. I see Ash catching as a Jangmo-o, and he would be a battle-hungry little guy. At first, he would lose a lot due to being pretty weak, but eventually, after evolving, he would become one of Ash's strongest Pokemon. Next up, we have Galar, and at this point, we are getting to where Ash doesn't have a team. I could make a Journeys team, but I'd rather make my ideal team for Ash in Galar and Paldea. So let's begin. The first Pokemon I see Ash catching in Galar is Corviknight. I see Corviknight as a strong and reliable Pokemon. I think it would be cool to see Ash combine Corviknight's Steel and Flying typings by teaching her moves like Steel Wing. Second Pokemon I see Ash catching is a Rillaboom. I see Rillaboom being the ace of the team, with him having a rivalry with Hop Cinderace. I could see Rillaboom going through a training arc where he learns to use his love of music in his battling. The next Pokemon is one I took from Ash's Journeys team in Starfetch'd. I see Starfetch'd being similar to how he is in Journeys, except he won't be anyone's punching bag. The next Pokemon I have Ash catching is Scorch. I love bug types and fire types, so combining them together is perfect. I also could see Scorch being a really cool Pokemon in Ash's team. He could be a weak Sizzlipede, then after rigorous training he would evolve and become a powerhouse. The last Pokemon I see Ash catching in Galar is Inteleon. I see Ash catching Inteleon as a shy and insecure Sobble. At first he would be bad at battling because he wouldn't be confident, but after getting... The last team for today is Ash's Paldea team. The first Pokemon I see Ash catching is Lokix. Lokix is a perfect Pokemon for Ash, especially with its Showdown mode ability. I can see it being a powerful Pokemon early in Ash's journey. The next Pokemon I think Ash would catch is Quaquaval. I know a lot of people dislike Quaquaval because it looks kind of fruity, but I think with the right story it could work. I think as a Quaxley he would love to dance, and after evolving into Quaxwell, he and Ash would go on a training arc learning to use their dance in their battle. Another Pokemon I feel fits Ash perfectly is Armarouge. I see him being the ace of the team. He'd be a fiery fighter, hating to lose, and after a tough battle, I see him and Ash going on a journey to obtain the auspicious armor so he could evolve. The next Pokemon I choose is Goldengo. I see Ash catching a Gimmighoul early on, and throughout his journey he would collect the coins, eventually evolving his Gimmighoul into Goldengo. He would be the comic relief for the team. The last member I would add to Ash's Paldea team is Baxcalibur. I think Baxcalibur could be a powerhouse of the team, but he would have a bad temper, so Ash would have to stop him from hurting Pokemon in battles. So those were all the teams. Did you like them? Would you have made any changes? Let me know. Also, I want to rewrite a series. Let me know which one you think you would like to see me adapt with these new teams. Bye.